Hello, Gummies. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 2. If this is your first time tuning in, I am bumping my gums and I am just an everyday young lady who wants to facilitate conversations. So I thought, what, you know, let's post a couple of topics out on Instagram and then I will shoot a video to discuss the topic. If this is your second time tuning in, I appreciate you and I just want to say thank you. The response to my first video was overwhelming, and I really do appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy day to listen to me bump my gums. Okay, so let's get into it. Today, the topic is everyone grieves differently and it's okay. What sparked this topic is at the end of 2018, my husband and I were having a conversation about what do we want to do differently for 2019. How do we want 2019 to be bigger and better? And one of the topics that came up was dealing with loss. Um, 2018 and before, previous years, we have had several friends and family members that have experienced loss as well as we have experienced loss. And we said one of the things that we want to do better in 2019 is reaching out to those people and providing our support. For the most part, I think we do a pretty good job, but there's always room for improvement. So I thought that this would be a good topic, and then I mentioned it to my sisters, and she agreed wholeheartedly that she thought that it would be a good topic. So here we are. Like I said, it's one of those things that I think we do a pretty good job, but there's always room for improvement. So I just wanted to, there are some thoughts that I have surrounding with dealing with people who have suffered a loss. And I just wanted to get your feedback to see what you thought, to see, what are some of your suggestions or ideas or thought processes are around this topic. The meme that I posted at the beginning of this video is of a little cat sitting next to a dog inside of his tube. I don't know, I guess the dog had some surgery or something, and he had to have the cone placed on his head. So the cat crawled inside of the cone with him to kind of give him a little love. And I thought that that would be an appropriate meme for this video. Someone coming into your darkness, your mess, your sadness to just be a comfort to you. So that's basically what this video will be about. All right, so let's get into it. My first topic that I want to get into is comfort isn't always talking, isn't always picking up the phone and reaching out to the person. Sometimes the person is dealing with a lot and they might not want to actually, not necessarily don't want to, but they may be feeling overwhelmed. So I say send a text message, especially if it's someone that you are familiar with, you have a rapport with. I don't see anything wrong with sending a text message to say, hey, I heard the news and I'm very sorry for your loss. We're thinking of you. We're praying for you. What do you think? Do you think text messaging is impersonal? Do you think that it's better for a telephone call? Let me know. Let me know what you think in the comment section. But the reason why I don't have a problem with text message, because I feel like it puts the power, so to speak, in the receiver's hand. So if they are in a moment where they don't feel like being bothered, or if they are entertaining, because people are stopping by, you have family members who were coming out to visit you, you're trying to make arrangements. So at that moment, you may appreciate not having your phone ring off the hook and your attention not pulled in so many different directions. But when you get a moment to sit down and you're reflecting or thinking about different things or whatever, you have the opportunity to read the text messages to see what people are saying and to respond. So what do you think? Is text messaging to someone to express your condolences, is that taboo? And, let me know. The next thing is there's several different ways that you can connect to a person and show your support. One way is sending flowers. You can send a card. I don't know. Maybe you're famous around church, or you're famous in your family for making a 7-layer pound cake or a 7-up pound cake, or whatever your specialty is. Bake a cake and drop it off. Or maybe if you could cook a full meal for the person, or if you don't bake, or if you're not, necessarily um, great in the kitchen, if that's not your skill, that's not your ministry, that's also fine. But maybe you could pick up a meal and drop it off by the home for the family, just to let them know that you're thinking of them, and you want to, share your condolences. And like I said, this isn't something that I'm perfect at, or something that I'm saying that, I do all the time, but these are things that I'm trying to get in the forefront of my mind for 2019, to just do better of reaching out. Sometimes when like I said, my self-prescribed social anxiety, it causes me sometimes to kind of withdraw, because my mind just starts racing 1,000 miles per minute. Like, oh no, I'm going to say the wrong thing. You know, my humor is a bit of acquired taste, and sometimes how I deal with uncomfortable situations, I crack jokes, I bust jokes, and not everybody appreciates that. So then I think about that. So sometimes I tend to withdraw and don't reach out to people. I will say a prayer for you, absolutely, or my husband will reach out to someone, or go visit them in the hospital, or something, or things of that nature. But sometimes I may not always reach out and provide support the way that I like to, because so that's something that I have to deal with. So, let me know, is that something that you also deal with, where you may want to, or you have the desire to reach out to someone to provide your condolences, but for whatever reason, you allow your thoughts to take over and you end up not doing so. So, just, one of the things that I thought I would discuss. The second thing that I would like to bring up is, there is absolutely, positively nothing wrong with seeking counseling. When I was sharing with my sisters what my topic was going to be, that was one of the things she said. She experienced some losses with her. She experienced the loss of her very best friend, and she said she took it really hard. They were friends since, ooh, I know she'll correct me in the comments, like high school. No, I'm sorry, she went to school here. But they were friends for a very long time. They were friends for years, and she passed away. And my sister said that she decided that she needed to seek counseling because it was hard. It was a struggle. People, stop telling folk we black, we don't do counseling. Black people don't go to counseling. We should go to counseling. That's why some of us is walking around here having unhealthy relationships, is because we haven't went to go see a professional to help us work out our thoughts, or how to deal with some of the hurts that we're dealing with. And in 2019, let's be healthy mentally and physically and emotionally. There is nothing wrong with that, right? I know for me, when my father passed away, I went to counseling because for those of you who don't know my story, my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in October, and he was gone by January. I went to counseling before he left. Because it was hard. I literally watched my father die, and I had to seek counseling to deal with that. So I just want to encourage other people. There is absolutely, positively nothing wrong with that. That does not speak negative to your character. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you someone who knows and recognizes that you are dealing with something and you need to seek help. And there is nothing wrong with that. And my thing is, as Christians, people say, oh no, I just take it to Jesus. I just take it to the Lord in prayer. Nothing wrong with that. But I will encourage you that seeking spiritual counseling is also a good thing. Maybe you're a part of a church where your pastor is a counselor, or they have a team of counselors that you can make an appointment and see them, and then talk it through. And they will be able to, it will be biblical counseling where they can provide you with scriptures and even pray along with you. But sometimes seeking help is not a bad thing. I feel like the Lord gives people different gifts, and people have the gift of counseling. They know the right words to say, they know how to lead a conversation to get to the root of the situation and allow a person to grieve and recognize, trigger points and things of that nature. So there's nothing wrong with that. I say seek it and seek it without delay. Um, My third point is everyone grieves differently. Grief looks different to everyone. There are situations where you may reach out to someone who experienced a loss, and they are hysterical. They're all over the place. They're falling down on the ground crying. They're rolling around on the floor crying. And then you reach out to somebody else to encourage them. They mess around and encourage you, have you in tears and walking away thinking, well, bless the Lord. Or, or walking away laughing and smiling. Everybody grieves differently, and that's okay. We need to stop judging people and trying to put people in boxes and think, oh well, they're not rolling around crying, so they must be okay, they must be fine. I guess they didn't take it that hard. That's not true. Everybody processes things differently. And I just, or it's a situation where sometimes people are like, oh, good grief, it's a year later and you still talking about that. Okay, we understand. We know you lost your dad, we know you lost your mom, we know you lost whatever, but get over it. No. Losing someone that is close to you is a process. It just does not go away overnight. So, or there's other people who are outwardly grieve for however long. My thing is, you have to allow yourself to go through your mourning process. You can't judge yourself. You can't be hard on yourself. You can't force yourself to grieve like someone else. And then, like I said, everyone does it differently. There's people who, the way that they deal with it is they go to a box of pictures that they had, and now they want to put a full blown mural. There's a lesson for you kids. Don't attempt to say words that you don't know how to pronounce on video. But anyway, you decide that you want to construct a whole, wall of pictures of a family member, and that's your way of remembering them. But the other family members are like, no, 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 I can't look at pictures right now. And I just can't. It's just too hard for me. It's just too emotionally stressful. So I say just give people room. Give yourself room, not even other people, but give yourself to room to grieve how you want to grieve. Don't let anybody force you into a box. And also, the other thing too is when you're comforting someone who was going through it, we are spiritual creatures, but we're also wrapped up in this flesh. And this flesh is what is holding on to the person that we lost. And it's not a contest of going to someone and trying to prove how many scriptures you can quote to them. Sometimes it's good to just sit back and let the person feel their emotions. I know sometimes we can, and it's not on purpose. And like I said, my disclaimer, I'm not saying this is what you should be doing, this is what you shouldn't be doing. I'm simply having a conversation. These are things that I'm thinking about. So I just kind of want to put them out there to see, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts about it? But sometimes when you're going through your grieving process, you don't need necessarily for someone to talk at you and try to tell you God is good and he's got you. I know that. I know he is. I'm not discouraged. Just because the tears are falling from my eyes doesn't mean I'm discouraged. It just means that I'm hurting. I feel the loss. I'm experiencing it, and I'm going through a grieving process. And crying is okay. And we shouldn't make people feel like because they're crying or because they're going through the grieving process that there's something wrong with their faith, that they don't trust God or they don't believe in the Lord to heal their heart because they're going through their grieving process. Sometimes being there to be a support for a person is allowing them to do just that. It means that you're sitting there quietly with a box of tissues and letting a person just go through. Now, if the person is going through and dealing with their grief in a way that's harmful to themselves or to people around them, then yes, by all means, you got to have you an intervention, get you a couple other friends, and y'all go over there and you pull the sister out the bed and make her get in the shower, or the person was talking about hurting themselves or something like that, that's when you definitely need to make sure and encourage them to seek counseling on how to deal with their emotions. But at the same time, we have to give people room to grieve and not put them inside a box. And my point number 4 is, if you are a spouse or if you have children, it's okay to cry. Allow yourself, like I said before, allow yourself to go through the grieving process, and don't look at tears as a sign of weakness. Look at it as a sign of purging, as a way to purge your emotions. If you have children, if you have a spouse or loved ones within your home that are experiencing that grief, give them room to grieve. Give them room to cry. Allow them to have their moment, and it's okay. I know one way how my support, well, several ways that my spouse supported me through my loss of my father. We divided and conquered. There would be days where I would be at the hospital, talking to family and being with and just spending that time with my dad. He would be the one that came home from work and cooked us dinner or tossed a load of clothes in the laundry or did things around the house to keep the household going while I was tending to my dad. And then, yes, there were other times where he was with me physically, where he went with me to the hospital to be an emotional support to me as well. But even just him coming home and cooking dinner, and then by the time I got, you know, home from the hospital after spending time with my dad or hanging with family, because we had plenty of the family drama, but mentally drained, it was great to not to have to come home and say, okay, well, now what am I going to cook for dinner? Or coming home and feeling like, okay, well, he's going to be upset because I didn't cook dinner, or he's going to be upset because I didn't get a chance to get to the laundry today. He took that pressure off, and I greatly appreciate that. So sometimes even something like that are very helpful. Like, that was his way of showing me love, of just allowing me to have that time with my dad, have that time with my family, and not having the extra burden of thinking about how am I going to also get home and get things done. One of the things I would encourage you to keep in mind too, when you are the caregiver for someone who passes away, one of the things that I think can be extra hard to deal with is once that person passes away, now you have time. So if you were the caregiver and most of your day was based upon, I have to go by my loved one's house to make sure they have their meals, or if that person lived in the home with you and maybe you didn't have a job, maybe your full-time job was taking care of that person, or if you did have a job, it was about getting into a routine, go to work, come home, make sure that they're fed. If that person had some sort of physical disability, then it would be your job to help them take a shower. You have to feed them, or if you have a support system, say it's a parent and you have several siblings, it would be about, okay, well, tonight is Thursday, I know that I'm not coming straight home from work, I have to go by mom's house, dad's house, cousin's house, sister's house to relieve such and such, so they can go and do what they need to do, and now it's my turn to provide care. So sometimes when you're allowing yourself to go through the grieving process, a part of that is now how to get back to normal. What's your new normal after that person is gone? Sometimes you can't remember. It may be because it was going on for so long, or even if for a short period of time, 2 months or 3 months or a couple of weeks can take you totally off your schedule. So now you have to find a way to eat up that time. That may be since you are dealing with a loss, they may be an excellent time to think about what it is you want to do, to give yourself back that time to say, you know what, for the longest time I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to learn. I wanted to take voice lessons. Even as now it doesn't matter. I'm an adult, but I've always wanted to take dance lessons. Fill that time that you used to care for your loved one with something that is now going to pour back into you, that gives you, that will have something that will make you happy, that you will look forward to do, because that can also help you with your grieving process. So that's just, I said one of my tips. Again, what are your thoughts? When you lost, if you were a caregiver for a loved one, how did you deal with that? Because, like I said, also as a part of dealing with the loss of that person, now you feel like you have this extra time on your hands. And what did you do? How did you deal with that? Thank you so much for listening. I believe that's all that I have. Hopefully, you will follow me on Instagram, Bumping My Gums, and please feel free to describe so that way in the future, when I post videos, you will receive a notification. I plan on doing more than just topics. Like I said, this is kind of new, so I'm kind of shaping it and molding it as I go along. But one of the other things that I would like to do is discuss different TV programs that I like to watch, such as Greenleaf. And one show I'm very much looking forward to is How to Get Away with Murder. And I believe that premieres on January 17th. So I may decide to post a video and discuss that. So, what are some of the TV shows that you enjoy watching that you wouldn't mind having a conversation about, getting some commentary going around it? Um, all right. Like I said, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day on purpose, everyone.